Hello everyone, welcome to the next video. Uh, we have now moved on to Unit 2 in Module 3, Design of Bevel Gears. So summarizing our efforts so far, in Module 3 we have studied design of spur gears and design of helical gears. From your examination point of view, spur and helical will form one unit and bevel gears will form another unit. Okay, so from this point onwards, we move on to design of bevel gears. Uh, Bevel gears, as you have already studied and you would have learnt about bevel gears, they are used to transmit power between two shafts which are intersecting, right? So if you see the animation there, you can see that the axis of both the shaft the axis of both the shafts are like intersecting. So that's the primary application of bevel gears. Let's in this video I introduce you to the different types of bevel gears, terminologies, design equations, and so on. Basically, it's theory related to bevel gears, and I'm not going to go in detail about this. I have taken the information from VB Bandari book, which I refer. So for more details, you can go through the textbook on design of machine elements by VB Bandari. But the intention is to give you an idea about the terminologies in a bevel gear so that you will follow better when you listen to the solve problem videos. Okay, so let's go on. All right, so in this slide, you see that I have defined bevel gears as gears that are used to transmit power between two intersecting shafts. All right, now there are two types of bevel gears that you can see in this figure. One is straight bevel gear and spiral bevel gear. Uh, as the name itself suggests, in straight bevel gear, the teeth are straight. Okay, you can see this. You can see the teeth are straight lines, whereas in spiral gear, the teeth are spiral curves. All right. Now, in both the cases, you can see that the straight lines and the curve they narrow down onto a single point of apex. All right. Therefore, gear tooth of any bevel gears will have a point of apex where the tooth appears to narrow down to. All right. Now, you would have seen a bevel gears, and it looks like the frustum of a conical surface. Right. There are some pictures of bevel gears that you will see as you will move on. Therefore, two basic types: straight and spiral. Alright, so this slide here begins with a animation of both straight bevel gear and spiral bevel gear. You can focus on how the teeth appears to be straight here, whereas it's a spiral curve. Okay, the comparison between both is that straight bevel gear is easy to design and manufacture, but since they are straight and they engage abruptly, that is, two meshing gears engage abruptly, they create noise, especially at high speeds, all right, and vibrations too. Okay, but spiral bevel gears are difficult to manufacture. Okay, as it is with every curved surfaces, bevel gears are difficult to manufacture, but then they have smooth teeth engagement. All right, in the sense the engagement begins from one end and goes on to the other. Okay? Therefore, there is much quieter operation even at high speeds. Okay. One more advantage of spiral bevel gears is that they have better strength and hence used for high speed, high power transmission applications. Right. So this is about the straight and spiral bevel gears. Okay, so bevel gears are also classified based on the pitch angle, right? That is angle between the shaft, the axis of the shaft and the pitch line of the teeth. Okay, Therefore, based on a pitch angle, we classify bevel gears into three: in external, crown, and like internal. Okay. External is when the pitch angle is less than 90 degrees. That is, if you have the axis here and the pitch line here, you can actually see that angle will be less than 90 degrees. When the angles are equal to 90 degrees, when the angles are equal to, that is from the axis of the shaft and the pitch line, if the angle is 90 degrees, we term it as crown angle, crown bevel gear. And third one is when the pitch angle is more than 90 degrees, it is known as internal bevel gear. Right? It is, you can see it from this figures itself. All right, so now there are certain special categories of bevel equations. These are all terms that we actually use, you need to be like aware of this. Okay, first one is meter gears. Okay. Meter gears, as you can see in this figure, are used when two identical bevel gears, when the pinion and the gear are both identical bevel gears, are mounted on shafts which are intersecting at right angles. Okay, you can see that the shaft angles are at 90 degrees. Okay, 45. Right. Therefore, this sort of a bevel gear like arrangement is termed as meter gears. Okay. Characteristics of meter gears I will summarize, or characteristics of all the separate categories of bevel gears I will summarize in a later slide. Okay. So let's go further. Okay, here you see crown gear. All right, crown gear, as we had previously defined, is when the pitch angle and is 90 degrees. Okay, that is in the bevel gear like arrangement. One of the gears has a pitch angle of 90 degrees. Then we term it as a crown angle. Okay. Now such bevel gears, now these sort of crown bevel gears are mounted on shafts which are intersecting at an angle that is more than 90 degrees. Okay. Now if you would have seen figures of automobile differential, you would have observed these sort of gears that engages in action with the axle. Alright, therefore one application of crown gear is the automobile differential gear. Okay, so you can see here that the angle between between the axis and the pitch line is greater than 90 degrees. Okay, now this gamma is what we term as the pitch angle. All right, okay. So let's go on next. All right, so in this figure we see internal bevel gears. Third one, internal bevel gears. You have seen a meter, and then you have seen crown bevel gear. Third one that you see here is internal bevel gears. Now this is when the teeth of bevel gear are cut inside of the pitch cone. Okay, the cone that is formed by the pitch angle. Right, the teeth are cut inside the pitch cone. Right, and in this case the pitch angle of internal gear is more than 90 degrees. Okay, it is a pitch angle you see is more than 90 degrees. And one more thing is the apex point, that is the point where the pitch line intersects, is on the back side of the teeth on that gear. Right, so the apex point is back side. If you will see the previous figures that I have uploaded, the apex point will be somewhere here, whereas here it is moved down. Alright, okay. So more about internal bevel gears you will see in that common comparison slide, which will be there in one of the later slides. So let's move on. Alright, so number 4 on the list is skew gears. Now this, you can see that as the term skew itself suggests, there is an offset between axes of the shaft. Alright, so you have one axis here perpendicular to the screen, and the pinion axis is here. You see between them you have a skew. or if you have an offset. Right, so the apex point of both pinion and gear is offset. All right, so this is they have got a lot of applications. Okay, we will speak more about this as we go on. All right, so these are skew bevel gears. This is a photograph of an application. Okay, all right, so let's go on. All right, so next we have iPod gears. Okay, iPod gears are similar to spiral bevel gears. Uh, that is, you have two shafts which are non-parallel as well as non-intersecting. Okay, therefore they are primarily used in applications where the shafts are non-parallel and non intersecting. Now, if you see here, one of the tooth surfaces are hyperboloids. Okay, so you can see that you have spiral gear engaging with an hyperboloid pinion teeth form. All right, so what happens here is the resultant motion is both rolling as normally what gears do, and you have a sliding action also. You see the gear teeth will roll and slide. Okay, therefore the surface contact or friction is more in these gears. All right, now what happens here is, and these gears have got very specific application where you have an offset also. Okay, this is partly skew. Okay, especially in automobiles, I have given an application here. In like automobiles, we would want the center of gravity of the vehicle to be low, isn't it? Right. Therefore, since offset is permitted in this particular gear, what you can do is the drive shaft, the gears on the drive shaft can be placed below the center line of the axle. Right, that way you can lower the center of gravity of the vehicle. All right, therefore this is iPod gears. So let's go on further. All right, one more specific gears that we find in case of bevel gears is known as Zerol gears. Uh, Zerol gears are spiral gears like itself, but they've got zero spiral angle. In the sense, you can actually see that there is no specific angle as it is in the case of a spiral bevel, but it is within the teeth. It's a pure curve. It will have a convex and a concave curve. All right, so this is a Zerol bevel gear, and this the advantage is it offers a very gradual engagement of teeth, and hence contact ratio is high, noise is less. All right, okay. Then we also have something known as phase gears. Phase gears is one of the bevel gears will engage with a pinion which is a spur gear. Right? Now this is your what you see here is your normal bevel gears. Both pinion and gear are both bevel. Right? You have conical surfaces that like engages. But in phase gear, you can see the pinion is a spur gear here. Okay, you can see the straight spur gears. All right, so this is what we mean by spur gears. Okay, all right, so let's move further. All right, so this is the slide that I was talking to you about, where I have managed to provide a comparison of the various gears: meter, crown, internal, skew, iPods, roll, and phase gears. Right? There are more or less the points that I've already spoken to you about, and I suggest that you read it in detail at leisure. Okay, now we move on to terminologies specific to bevel gears. All right, there is these two figures here show most of the terminologies that we use. Let's just look into some of the more like important one with respect to the design of these gears. All right, Now now this profile, I just move the cursor over the profile of the gear. Okay, so this is the profile of the gear. All right, so this is the face of the gear, right? And this will be the face width. Between these 2 points you have the face width. Yeah, it is shown in the figure B. You see B is the face width. Now this is the apex point of the cone that I spoke about in the previous slide. Okay, that is the point where the pitch lines will like engage, will meet. Okay, so this is uh, apex point. You also have a back uh, cone also. Okay, back cone along the teeth. If you will draw two lines, they meet at a point, and this is back cone. Okay, all right. So then what is important here is you see this pitch line moves through the center of the teeth, right? So this is the pitch lines. The angle between axis of the shaft and the pitch line, the gamma symbol that you see here, gamma is your pitch angle. Pitch angle is very important in bevel gear design. Okay, and you have addendum angle and addendum angle here. Okay, and the equivalent distance, linear distance that you see in figure B, HA is addendum, and HB, HF that you see here is dedendum. Okay, so you have addendum and dedendum here, face width here. Okay, then you also have something known as the AO. This parameter from the apex point all the way to the root. You have AO. Okay, again a very important parameter. Then you have root of the teeth. Okay, then you have a face angle is here. Okay, so these are all important parameters. Please go through them. One more important point is the back cone radius RB is also very important. Okay, RB is important because RB will lead us into formative number of teeth. While we design the helical gears, we had discussed about equivalence per gear teeth, which we termed as virtual or formative number of teeth, right? So a similar formative number of teeth exists for bevel gears, and that gear formative number of teeth is based on this back cone radius RB. All right, so let's go forward. Okay, some of the important terminologies I have defined here, so please read it on your own. Okay, some of the important is this cone distance. This is that AO that I actually spoke about. Okay, cone distance is very important. Then back cone distance, the back cone radius RB. This is also important. Okay, pitch angle is here. I'm sorry, the symbol is wrong. It's not G. It is gamma. Okay, sorry about that. This is gamma. This is gamma plus addendum angle. This is gamma minus addendum angle, face angle and root angle. Okay, note the changes here, please. All right. So let's move further. Okay, so this slide is very important. Here we speak about the virtual or formative number of teeth. All right. Now, before we move into that formative number of teeth, I need to speak about the tooth profile. Okay. Now, in bevel gears, the tooth profile needs to be very accurately manufactured, isn't it? For the gears to function efficiently. But to demonstrate it, it's a spear, isn't it? You cannot directly show it in a plane. Okay, so a good approximation is what we term as Threadgold's approximation, where the spear that you see, that you imagine, if I draw a tangent to that spear at the pitch point, at the point where the teeth are enmeshed, at the pitch point, if you draw a tangential line, right, you more or less can showcase the tooth profile. Okay, so that's about thread goals approximation. Okay, tangent at pitch point. All right, in the back cone. Okay, now what we mean by formative number of teeth is to get an equivalent design formulas for a bevel gas with respect to spur gas. Most of the design like equations are derived for spur gauge and later on modified for subsequent different types of teeth that we have. So the formative number of teeth here is uh, if I form a circle with the back cone radius RB. Okay. If I draw the pitch circle radius here with RB, then the number of spur gear that teeth that can be formed is what we term as formative number of teeth. Okay. And you can derive the formula for formative number of teeth. This is basically, if you see 2 times RB will give you the pitch circle diameter, isn't it? Therefore, D by module. This is what is equal to formative number of teeth. Now there is a separate equation for Z dash that we can derive. Alright, so let's move on. Alright, so this is the equation for formative number of teeth that we have seen before. I name it as equation A, okay, where M is the module at the large end of the teeth. Okay, the large end will be the root end, this end. Okay, that's M module. Now if Z is the actual number of teeth on the bevel gear, then we know that actual number of teeth is nothing but pitch circle diameter by module. Now if I take a ratio of both virtual number of teeth and actual number of teeth, Z dash by Z, you get 2RB by D. Right? Now from the figure you can geometrically simplify it into an equation that is Z dash equal to Z by cos gamma. This is the preferred formula for equivalent or formative number of teeth. Z dash equal to Z by cos gamma. Alright, please go through it. Alright, now you have seen some the formula for formative number of teeth. Similarly, there are some more important relationships that you need to know. Okay. Now, if you see this this figure here that is shown here, you have a pitch circle diameter of the pinion here and pitch circle diameter of the gear. Small letter gamma is the pitch angle of the pinion, and the capital letter gamma that you see here is the pitch angle of the gear. AO you see is the cone distance. All right. So from this, geometrically you can see here, if you take tan of the pitch angle, you will end up with ZP by ZG, number of teeth on the pinion divided by number of teeth on the gear. Now this is important. You will I think most of those equations are available in your handbook. We will see that when we will solve problems. I just want you to be like aware of this. Okay, pinion gear. Okay, all right. So let's move ahead. All right. So moving ahead with the important relationships with the same previous figure that you have seen of a engaged bevel gear. You can also derive an equation for the cone distance AO, that is from the point of like apex to the root of the tooth. You have AO. You can obtain it in terms of the pitch circle diameter of the pinion and gear. Alright, so this is another important formula to remember. So let's move on. Alright, so here let's look into the forces that act in a bevel gauge. Alright, a force analysis. Now don't be scared with this very complex sort of figure that you actually see. In case it's very simple. Okay, so this figure here looks very sophisticated with a lot of lines and forces and all that, but actually it's very simple. All right. Now, you can imagine this to be the cone of the gear. All right. And the force analysis or the force is assumed to act at the midpoint of the phase width. All right. So this is the point D, mid of the phase that engages is where the forces is assumed to act. All right. Now, I will keep it very simple. Okay. Let's not go into the details of this. There are primarily three major forces that acts or major components of the resultant force. Okay. Now, if you see this dotted line, that is the resultant force, alpha being the pressure angle, right? Therefore, the resultant force has got three major components that act. Okay. That is, you have a radial component acting vertically, tangential component acting PT, and we have the axial thrust PA. These are the three forces. An additional fourth component that you take into account is the separating force or the separating component PS, right? So these are the four forces. The resolving of these forces is shown in these figures B and C, right? So I think that's all that you need to be like aware of. For simplicity, I've taken an example problem where the magnitudes of various forces are shown here. Okay, if you have the pinion and the gear here, right? Pinion and the gear, you can see the forces that act. At the center of the face width, you have the various components of forces that act. All right. Okay. So just for your information. So let's go. All right, so here I give you the like expressions for the component of the force components that we saw in the figure previously: tangential, radial, and axial. Okay, as well as separating component also. Okay? The formulas are here. Please have a look. And most of these equations are there in your handbook, so nothing much to worry about. I just want you to be aware of the direction of the forces and where they act. All right. Okay. So let's go ahead. Okay. So as it is with all the gears that we have designed so far, beam strength is very important. Okay. Sufficient beam strength is necessary so that you will avoid failure or breaking of the gear tooth. Alright, so Lewis equation can be derived for bevel gears, and I have not shown the derivation here. It's available in the textbooks and you can go through them. Whereas this is how the Lewis equation for bevel gears looks like. Usually in all the other gears you see that MB sigma By is what constitutes the Lewis equation. For bevel gears you have an additional factor known as the bevel factor, 1 minus B by AO. That is the extra addition to the Lewis equation. Right? Lewis equation will give you the beam strength. Beam strength indicates the maximum value of the tangential force at the large end of the tooth that the tooth can transmit without bending failure. This is the maximum tangential force. Right? So we can see this figure here, SB. This is your beam strength. Maximum tangential load that can act on the tooth without failure. All right. So that's about the beam strength. I'm sure this is there in your handbook as well. Okay. So let's go forward. Last slide. Equations that you have already seen for other gears in your like handbook. Okay. So let's just go through these equations one by one, which you've already seen before. Now, wave strength equation you have seen in your handbook for spur and like helical gear. For bevel gear, it's slightly different. Okay, this is how the wear strength of the bevel gears look like. Okay, and then you have effective load. We know is CS by CV into PT. Okay, right. So this is effective load, but you should also remember that since we find out tangential tooth load using power equation, CS will already be incorporated in that 1000 P, sorry, 1000, yeah, P divided by V, 1000 P CS divided by V. CS is already taken into account. Therefore, V in our problems, in our solutions, while we calculate effective force, we divide tangential force by CV and ignore CS. Right? Okay. Dynamic load from the textbook VB Bandari, the equation is in this format. All right. So they, I mean, in our book, you will have it in a slightly in different way. Okay. And then you have effective load considering dynamic load, which will be PT plus the PD. We don't take CS into account because we already do it while calculating PT using power equation. Therefore, this is the effective load considering dynamic load. Then for safe design, both factor of safety for beam strength and surface strength, both should be greater than 1. Right? This is basically factor of safety equal to beam strength by effective load, and factor of safety is equal to surface load or wear strength divided by effective load. Okay? These factor of safety is Fs here should be greater than 1 for safe design. Alright, so this video summarizing, you have seen about the theory of bevel gears. Read more from the textbooks. So this is only to give you an idea about the bevel gears. Next video you will start solving the problems. Okay, so let's stop here. Thank you. Bye bye.